Hello, my fellow cigar smokers, and welcome to Smokers Spot and another round of our Cigar Talk. And today we are talking about the good old times where apparently everything was better, even cigar wise. And for this occasion, I'm smoking a old Camacho Triple Maduro. If you want to know what Triple Maduro means and what it is, we've made an extra episode about all Maduro. You can check that out. But today it's not really about that Triple Maduro. I was just smoking it because that's the old Camacho, produced around 2007. I got this one from my good friend Stefan at the Davidoff flagship store this way. Thanks a lot, my friend. Really appreciate it. I received it last year on my birthday, so that's the right occasion to smoke this one. Great cigar. And you know, the old Camachos, they're a very good example about the discussion that is ongoing about older cigars, aged cigars, and you know, anyhow, everything was better before. You know, is that true? It's not so easy, guys, you know. Because, in fact, a couple of old things were really better. But, I mean, not everything, you know. What was better were the cigar prices. Definitely. Because I remember, I don't know for how long you are smoking, guys, but I started around 1995. And back then, man, the cigar prices were like ridiculous low, you know. And in the last couple of years, it's kind of the policy that like the big brands, for example, all the Cubans and but also Davidoff, for example, they are like increasing the prices every year. I mean, not by a whole lot, but you know, every year like 20 cents, 30 cents like this. And you see, after 10 years, you have like $3 more for a cigar. Not to mention like the major increases that also happens from time to time. So the old Camachos, you know, back in the days, remember we were doing like a review of an old Camacho Corojo, you know, and that's one of the cigars that is still around, at least name-wise. So if you're like buying a new Camacho Corojo today, depending on the size on the Vitola, but let's say it's around between 8 and 10 euros, somewhere over this, you know, like this. And then you know what? The old Camacho Corojo, that costs like €3.50 or €3.80, something like this. So I mean, that is a difference. And the old Camachos, they were damn good, you know. So that's one example where it was better before. But let's talk about the cigar market in general, you know. A whole lot of cigars that we are enjoying today that are coming from the Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua, and so on, man, they weren't there in the 80s and 90s, you know. Really, the Dominican market started in general, like in the 90s, you know. Before that, you had Cuban cigars that were mostly coming from Davidoff and from Dunhill. And even back then, these cigars were pretty expensive, you know. That were like real. It was like a treasure, you know. Remember back in the 90s when you were going into a brick and mortar store here in Germany, for example, they had this little vault, you know. It was a humidor, and it was locked, you know. And in there were the Cuban cigars, and then all the rest was somewhere else, you know. But before the 90s, 80s, 70s, like this, cigars we had here in Germany and mostly in other parts of the world, there were like short fillers, you know. And if you were lucky, it was like a medium filler, you know. But like premium cigars we have nowadays, like widely available everywhere. No way, man. It wasn't possible, you know. So today we have a much better variety of cigars, of brands, of countries where they're coming from, you know. I mean, like, back then it wasn't the case. So today's better, definitely. The prices are higher in general, but the variety and the options you have, way better. And even some of the cigars, you know. I mean, for example, you know, I mean, I'm a Davidoff fanboy, you know. I love the brand, I love the cigars, you know. And a couple of times I had the possibility to smoke Cuban Davidoffs, you know, like 30 or 40 years old, and they were great, you know. No, there's no doubt. But when you're nowadays smoking like a Cuban Davidoff, for example, you have to take into account that there's a whole lot of nostalgia in your head. You know, you are thinking about the old times. You have expectations, and these expectations they are merging into the taste. You know, so we have to take that into account. And one of my first cigars, I mentioned it a couple of times, was the Santa Damiana Dominican cigar back in the 90s. You know, and still, man, since it was my first cigar that I can remember of, and I really started my cigar journey with that cigar, you know, I still have it like it's just a special cigar. But the reality is, if I'm smoking it nowadays, you know, it's not such a good cigar. It's okay cigar, you know. Um, Coming back to the variety and all the options we have, so we're doing pretty good today. So when some of the old farts like me are telling you, good old times, everything was better, and that's a lie. It was different. It wasn't better. It was just different, you know. We can be really happy with the cigar market we have nowadays, you know. That's a lot of great brands, you know. You have so many options taste-wise, and so like from it's coming from it's starting with like standard cigars, you know, when it's going to very exotic vitola wise and plant wise, you know. We should appreciate these times nowadays, because I don't want to go that far to say it's the best times we're living in, but cigar was very good times. Leaving aside the regulations, you know, they're going on our nerves, but we can live with that. So what I want to say, guys, is enjoy the cigars you have nowadays. You know, don't let anybody tell you like, "Oh man, did you try this cigar from 1990 something?" No, you didn't, but you shouldn't care, you know, because most probably was a crappy cigar anyways. That's it for today, my friends. I will enjoy this old Camacho Triple Maduro, which is really a fantastic cigar. Also, it's from 2007, probably around that. Enjoy a good cigar and enjoy life, my friends. Most importantly, you know, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you around at Smoker Spot. Cheers.